way with me. My broken, tired hands can't build a thing. The wires that have held me still, embedded now in flesh, define my will. The idol of my days is one. The empty I have fed has made me numb. Despite what you will find in me, the failures of my past still swell beneath. I need a heart that carries on through the pain when the walls start collapsing again. Give me a soul that never ceases to follow, despite the infection within. Our careless feet leaving trails, never minding the fragile dirt we all end in. Our careless feet leaving trails, never minding the fragile dirt we all end in. This is where I find my fall. The cares that held me life don't work at all. And every step away from here is closer to the plague I hold so dear. I need a heart that carries on through the pain when the walls start collapsing again. Give me a soul that never ceases to follow, despite the infection within. Our
Ain't that swell? How you doing? How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate all of you being here today. If you are joining me from X, welcome. I appreciate you. If you're joining me from YouTube, then go ahead and hop on in, follow my X. And you hear from X, subscribe to my YouTube. We're gonna get the stuff going, right? So yesterday was pretty intense. The Dearborn anti-Islam protests. So just wanted to off a couple things.
Jesus Christ is King of Dearborn, Michigan. Jesus Christ is King of Dearborn, Michigan.
Amen.
Pick up your crosses and walk, America. Do not be asleep. Wake up before the giant of Islam crushes you. Let's roll. Let's rock and roll. Let's start our march.
Before the Islam crushes you, that's wonderful. Yeah, and then my only thing is all he's doing is coming out here saying Jesus is Lord. And they're vehemently against them, and they're not doing anything violent, anything destructive. This gentleman, Jake Lang, an absolute G. I didn't know much about him before this. He's an absolute G. Sitting there saying, pick up your cross and carry it. And that's what every single person should do. And it's beautiful, man. And the events of this actual stream right here have far more radicalized me than anything else could be, you know? Anything else in life that will radicalize me, it would be nothing more than the actions of the Muslims here, you know, the actions of said Muslims. And I hate it. I hate to sit there and say that Muslims that have caused it, but it is in their charter. It's in their holy book to act in this way. And it is in their holy book to lie to non-believers for the furtherment of Islam. It's called taqiyya or taqiyya. I don't care. I prefer to mispronounce it. But basically, it says that you can lie to non-believers. And people, they can make the comparison saying, hey, Christians didn't lie. Or Christians did lie, excuse me, back whenever they were being persecuted for their faith. And yes, that's true. Simultaneously, though, that was I don't want to be murdered, so I'm just going to go ahead and not say that I'm a Christian and then go practice it in private. Meanwhile, these people, they come out in public and they'll be like, oh no, I'm not a Muslim, I'm not a Muslim. And then they do things that support Islam. They further the advancement of Islam. And they do all of these things while continuously saying, oh, I'm not a Muslim, I'm not a Muslim. But all of these Muslim policies we need to enact. And then whenever the policies get enacted and they become the law of the land, that right there is whenever the worst things happen, you know, the gang raping of 12-year-old girls being drugged and gang raped, okay, the destruction of the culture that was there before the Muslims moved in, you know. And yes, I think Western culture is superior to Muslim culture because we're not selling 9-year-olds to be some guy's wife, okay? We're not supporting somebody who the only thing that he wanted was to be a warlord, a pedophile, take over lands, spread his toxic and evil ideology. And not toxic in the way the left uses it, genuinely toxic, as in if you follow this, your life will be inherently worse. Okay, you might feel like it's better. People might tell you that it's better. People might lie to make you feel like you're good being a Muslim. But at the end of the day, if you didn't grow up in it, and even if you grew up in it, in your core, I guarantee you feel something's wrong. Because you have a God-shaped hole and you filled it with a warlord pedophile instead of genuine, the actual deity of Christ, Jesus Christ. End of story. That's all it is. But yeah, I'm so glad to see young men like this Jake Lang here standing up to the scourge that is Islam.
Jesus Christ is King of Dearborn, Michigan. Jesus Christ is King of Dearborn, Michigan. Pick up your crosses and walk, America. Do not be asleep. Wake up before the giant of Islam crushes you. Let's roll.
Before the giant of Islam crushes you. Exactly. And you see, it'll be things like the H-1Bs and whatnot that would cause more Muslims to infiltrate our country and more people who want to see the destruction of America infiltrate our country and turn it into the places that they left because I don't know. I don't know. But this right here specifically, Byron Donalds, I'm not sure how I feel about him yet because I like things that he does and I dislike other things that he does. And at the end of the day, I only heard the guy ask the question. I wanted to save this for stream and get like a genuine reaction. So I'm just let him see his question, and then we're just gonna play through. Um, I definitely think it's important to hear people's opinions, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. That's that's the exact opposite of what the left wants. The left doesn't want us to talk to each other and, be peaceful, speak and exchange ideas. No, the left wants us to kill each other. They want us to just look at each other and say, "Hey, you're the opposite party, so fuck you." Even within our own party, there are people who are doing tribalism and shit, man, and that's what's going to destroy this country is tribalism. The left sucks, but if the right can't sit here and understand, hey, you support something somebody does, you don't support other things that they do, and that's human. Until they can understand that, we're never gonna heal. We're always gonna be fractured. Just like Senator Fetterman, John Fetterman. You know, other than the fact that he voted to stop the government shutdown, he's pretty left. And he's definitely not a psycho left because he comes out against that in the Antifa, as far as I know. Like, as far as I've seen, he comes out against those things. Simultaneously, um, he was in support of stopping the government shutdown. So I support him in that wholeheartedly. And I do not support the left ideologies that he has as well. Two things can be true at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time. And that's one thing that we have to understand. I feel like when it comes to Trump, he's very, very rigid on loyalty. And I get it. If I was in that power, I'd want people loyal to me too. But we also have to understand that loyalty doesn't mean kissing your ass all the time. Loyalty doesn't mean, hey, you're the best of the best, even though that's how he is. But that's how Trump works. And Trump's the president. So he kind of deserves to act like that in a way. Simultaneously, though, it's not good for the health of the movement. It's not good for the health of our country, anything like that. I just believe that we need to hear people out, not always agree with them, but don't just sit there and say, "Oh, you're as bad as the left." You know, I still defend Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that we shouldn't just get rid of illegals. You know, and yes, she has construction companies, but at the end of the day, we need to have a program in place to replace them, and it shouldn't just be legal immigrants. It should be American-born workers who are trained to do these things, who should replace the illegals. You know what I'm saying? Like that right there is what we need to have happen. Not just remove everybody and then, okay, now what do we do? Well, we have a gap in the workforce. So I don't agree with keeping illegals here, but I also don't agree with simply removing them with no plan. And I know that there is a plan. I'm not saying that there isn't a plan on the right. But what I am saying is that the plan is not obvious. The way Trump's seeing it, he just wants to import more workers. And it's like, no, we don't want more legal immigrants even. No, we just want Americans here. Get out. And I go one step further, say if you do not believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and live a life that is pleasing to him, get out. Okay? It's that simple. I don't care if you're Muslim, I don't care if you're Jewish. All right? If you deny the deity of Christ, he is 100% the God of this world. You deny that deity, you shouldn't be in America. Okay? I don't want to be in a country with people who are going to sit there and say, I don't know about that Jesus guy. I don't think he's God. Nope. Nope. It's perfect. I'm like this right here. Play.
Shut up! Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out.
That's exactly how I feel. You say Christ is Lord. You don't get out. But enough of me ranting and raving, even though I'm pretty sure that's what people come here for at this point. We're going to go ahead and listen to Byron Donalds and see what he has to say about the H-1Bs.
First of all, thank you both for coming and speaking to us here. Appreciate you taking the time. Benny, you were talking about the H-1B visa issue, and I think this is something that's very important for people in my age cohort. Unemployment for recent graduates in the United States is now at 9.3%, which is higher than it's been since even counting the 2008 financial crash. So, when we are importing legal immigrants and companies are simultaneously laying off high-skilled American workers, we have to start asking what are the financial incentives that we can put into place to make that method of operation not feasible for them. So at a state level, obviously Congress is going to do what they're going to do about the H-1B program. Hopefully they repeal it. If not, there's nothing we can do with the state of Florida about that. But would you be open to or consider levying additional taxes on employers who are hiring H-1B visa holders to make those roles not financially viable, to make it so they're not cheaper than American workers, to actually make it more expensive and force them to pay a premium to hire a foreign worker over a U.S. citizen?
All right. So we got the question. What I would do, tax breaks. You just make it to where they have to pay less money if they're doing American-born citizens. But let's hear what Byron has to say.
That's an interesting question. Honestly, I've not heard that proposal before. So I really do want to think about it, because there is also the other side of that coin. You got to be mindful not to start setting different layers of taxation based upon performances that you're seeing, because that has its own unintended consequences. And so I got to think about that one. I've never heard it before, and I'm hearing it now, so I got to think about that. When you use tax policy to essentially reset or to set incentives, you got to be mindful about what the other side of that coin will do. I'm not saying no, but I got to process that one. I got to think about it. I think in terms of Florida, one of the things that we do have to do is make sure that young people, whether they're graduating college or graduating high school, they have a conduit to a career that's going to put food on the table. One of the core issues we're coming up to with young people, especially graduating college, is that there are a lot of degrees that are being achieved that are not economically viable in the real world. I don't know what everybody's major set is. I'm just going to speak from my vantage point. An interdisciplinary studies degree is not going to put food on the table. It's not. I don't know what your advisors told you, and I don't know what the professors are saying, but that interdisciplinary studies degree, you're going to graduate from the University of Florida or wherever university you go to, and then you will be in the labor pool looking for employment against some of your local police officers, some of the local people who are doing jobs, people who are trying to figure stuff out. So when you're going to college, if you're talking about the unemployment rate with college, you got to look at what you're majoring in. Because what you're majoring in does put you on a pathway to what jobs are available to you. And that's really important for young people. When my oldest son went to college, I made him do a budget before he picked a major. You should sit down and do a budget. How do you want to live? How much is it going to cost? How much do you have to earn? And then pick your major accordingly. Because in that way, you have a skill set that is viable in the marketplace. I'm an FSU grad. We all know this. We had fun at the beginning. Stop it. One of the reasons why I think vocational training, credentialing, hard skills has to come back in K-12 education in particular, but also at the university and college level, is because you could be an electrician making $110,000 a year today versus having a degree that's not economics, accounting, finance, engineering, or if you go to law school or medical school. Like, those are basically the six. Outside of that six, you're going to be competing against the entire labor pool and adults ahead of you who've already had to leave a career that didn't work out. But if you're an electrician, you're a plumber, you're an auto tech, even if you're driving a truck, a CDL licensed driver, CDL drivers make $85,000 coming right out of training school. $85,000 a year. That's actually more. And some people will say, well, Byron, but I went to college. Why are you saying I don't have the skills to compete in white collar work? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we have to be real about what economic viability is. Because the number one reason I believe that young people are frustrated is because you followed the advice that they told my generation. Just go to college and it's all going to work out. And I had peers who got the degree and they went into the workforce and realized that the degree did not have the value that they told us it would. And they had to go back and find another pathway. Some of them became realtors. A lot of them ended up doing jobs and working in careers you didn't even have to go to college for. But you have the debt from college now. And so we got to be honest and direct with young people about what success really is in America. And success in America is skills that are employable, that put food on the table. It doesn't matter what the piece of paper is. It doesn't matter where you got the piece of paper. It is skills that are valuable, that put food on the table. That's the pathway to success in our country.
That's true. All right. All right. So I agreed with a lot of what he said. I'd been hearing a lot of people say, for example, in the comments here. Let me see. Unmaximize. Do nothing Republican. H1B is a scam. He won't do anything. And one thing I will say though, I don't like how he didn't say he didn't say anything on how he was going to stop it. That definitely. So we're going to go back to Byron's points. I'm going to respond to it point by point, and we're just going to go through with it. Because it's important to do this. You need people who break these words down, because words mean things, you know? You don't just say things. I can be a connoisseur of word salad every so often, okay? I like speaking. I like words. I just enjoy talking with people. Sometimes I'll just ramble because I don't want the conversation to stop, and I like, enjoy the person's company. And language, I've always been a fan of language ever since I was a kid. But sometimes people say things and they either don't know what it means, or they're just not exactly informed on it. I'm a victim, not a victim, but I'm a guilty of this myself. I don't know why I keep calling myself a victim. I'm a white man. I'm not a victim. Fucking okay, whatever. We're gonna play this and respond to it.
Foreign worker over a U.S. citizen.
That's an interesting question. I've not heard that proposal before.
That's right there is what threw me off. He started off by saying he's not heard that proposal. I don't know how much I believe that. And I mean, granted, I take people at their word. So sure, it's the first time he's heard it. But how? I mean, maybe not for the H1Bs, but like throughout history, raising prices, lowering prices. That's how you get people. That's how you get people to work and do different things. How is this the first time you've heard of it? I just that really threw me off. But okay.
So I really do want to think about it, because there is also the other side of that coin. You got to be mindful not to start setting different layers of taxation based upon performances that you're seeing, because that has its own unintended consequences. And so I got to think about that one. I've never heard it before, and I'm hearing it now, so I got to think about that. When you use
So you're just saying using the taxes create different levels. There's consequences that you can't really foresee, unforeseen consequences. Yeah. These things are just like pretty much what you would expect from wanting to increase taxes. Yeah, you make things more expensive to produce, they'll be more expensive to consume. That's why I think that a tax break, allow them to use that money towards other things. Like instead of having to pay $7,000 in taxes, you train Americans for $7,000, and then you get $7,000 in a tax break. So you're not increasing prices, and you're still giving them an incentive to stay here. I don't get, that just seems like the most logical thing to me. But let's keep going. Let's keep going.
tax policy to essentially reset or to set incentives, you got to be mindful about what the other side of that coin would
Of course.
I'm not saying no, but
Long-term thinking. I think it's called like second-hand thinking or something. One of my it's funny. One of my first political friends. One of the first people. Oh shit! My microphone's falling down. Oh well. I'll hold it up. One of the first things I heard from one of the first people I met on here, Luca. He's a pretty good dude. I met him, and like he was talking about second. What was it? It was second. I don't know. I really like second order thinking. I couldn't remember the word, but second order thinking is what he said. And it was pretty decent. But yeah, no, long term thinking. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do for what it is that you want. And I need to fix my mic real quick. I'm gonna mute. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, I think we're good. Oh, the cord. Okay, one more thing. Sorry. Okay, all right. Technical difficulties, just like at Dearborn yesterday. It's a curse. Oh no. It's all good though. Yeah, no, I have one of those arm mics. I really like. It's comfortable to use. But it gets disconnected if I fiddle with it too much. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue listening to this. I'm so sorry for that middle part. Let's continue.
I gotta process that one. I gotta think about it. I think in terms of Florida, one of the things that we do have to do is make sure that young people, whether they're graduating college or graduating high school, they have a conduit to a career that's going to put food on the table. One of the core issues we're coming up to with young people, especially
I just wanted to say it real quick. Go back. Go back.
to do, is make sure that young people, whether they're graduating college or graduating high school, they have a conduit to a career that's going to put food on the table.
And that's true. You don't want to sit here and give, like, for example, me trying to be a streamer. This could work, you know, or it could not work. It's all about what happens, right? It's all about chance. And that's the big part about a lot of these things. People go towards these careers that don't have a guarantee. Granted, there isn't a guarantee in anything in life. Simultaneously, though, you get to the work, the trades. That stuff is way more valuable and way more necessary than someone like a streamer, you know? I mean, political commentary is necessary because you need people to talk about these things and people to express ideas so you can hear differing ideas. Simultaneously, it's also not that important as opposed supported like coal mining or something. You know, just something insane like that. Sorry. I was looking at my Discord. I got a message. I had to check it.
One of the core issues we're coming up to with young people, especially graduating college, is that there are a lot of degrees that are being achieved that are not economically viable in the real world. I don't know what everybody's major set is. I'm just going to speak from my vantage point. An interdisciplinary studies degree is not going to put food on the table.
That's true. As much as you want to, you know, be a cop or be a prison officer or warden or like that kind of stuff, it's something that you got to grind towards, and you gotta. It's kind of like you just got to go for it, man.
It's not. I don't know what your advisors told you, and I don't know what the professors are saying, but that interdisciplinary studies degree, you're going to graduate from the University of Florida or wherever university you go to, and then you will be in the labor pool looking for employment against some of your local police officers, some of the local people who are doing jobs, people who are trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, there's a huge competition.
So when you're going to college, if you're talking about the unemployment rate with college, you got to look at what you're majoring in. Because what you're majoring in does put you on a pathway to what jobs are available to you. And that's really important for young people.
Now, I will understand. I feel like he's making great points. Um, I just the entire thing here. It we're asking about the H-1Bs. I support ending the H. Okay, all right. Well, I should have read this up top at the beginning before I played it for the proper context. I support ending the H-1B program, full overhaul of all immigration visas, but I am no on taxing businesses. Real answer is making sure our children are economically viable. Okay. Hey, he has a point though, and this is just him having a difference of opinion. I don't get why people are treating him as an enemy now. And that's another thing I was talking about earlier with the tribalism of the right, like even within the right. And luckily, we're not as fractured as the left, but we still have those moments. And I mean, at the end of the day, people just have their differing opinions. You know, he's just thinking that instead of doing taxes or any of that, we should end H-1B, as he says, and then we should encourage our children to do more economically viable things. Doesn't mean we have to force them. And granted, I also think that people should be able to allowed to go and do what they want. But also, I want to be this online personality, but it's also not economically viable at the beginning. Later on, I could probably make money off of it and support myself. But right now, you know, it's not bringing in anything, and I'm okay with that. But this is also what happens with those other careers, those other places, those other like degrees that you're getting for these different types of jobs. Some of them you just have to work for no money at first. Some of them you get lucky and you get right in there. Some of them you got to grind your ass off for years and years on end before you get anything done. And I think both are important. We need to tell people that, hey, some of these careers you are going to have to do that, and make sure that it's known that if somebody really wants to do it, they're understanding, hey, you're not going to make a lot of money off of this. Simultaneously, we do also need to end the H-1B program so that we can actually have people who are in here as American-born citizens. And then along with that, we need to give an incentive so that they stay here instead of just offshoring all of their factories to China so that they can just have free slave labor. Okay, because I go down the line of reasoning, like a tax incentive really makes a lot of sense. Whatever money they spend on training, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, I'm willing to take that. You give them a tax break for that number. Then you also have the idea of that tax break fraud, but that also happens for any group. So I don't know. But the people who are so strongly pushing H-1Bs, I don't know what their deal is. And I look at them and I think about it and I'm like, how does this make sense for being America first? Maybe for the economy, the economic repercussions possibly. But if you're talking about personal lives, natural citizens who have been here since they have been born, who believe in Jesus, who love Jesus, and yes, that's a criteria for me. I don't care. I'm an extremist about it. Fight me. At the end of the day, these people who have grown up here versus the 25-year-old Chinaman who has nothing to his life and he's like, oh, maybe I'll go to America and make my life better. Take shit away from the American citizens to give him a chance. I'm sorry that he grew up in a communist shithole, but at the end of the day, this is exactly what it is. And this is what we need to do. And I'm absolutely bummed out that there's not more people who are looking at this with gray in it. Because certain things, you have to distill it down and it becomes a binary. But when you start compounding things and compounding issues, like you have the economic ramifications and the immigration ramification, okay, well then that's whenever you have to be complex about it. When the issue is complex, you be complex. When the issue is simple, you be simple, If it's like, hey, do you support rape? No, right? Like that's simple. Yes and no. No, I do not support rape. Do you support people coming in here and taking these jobs, and even if they do contribute to the economy? Okay, because we have to understand that contribution does not mean a net positive. Just because you give money doesn't mean that you're not taking more. And also, people sit there and they make the joke like, oh, immigrants are somehow simultaneously lazy and taking all of our money. Yeah. And they're taking all of our jobs. Yeah. Because they can sit there, work a minimum wage job, get paid under the table, and then commit fraud to get further benefits from the government. It's fully possible for multiple things to be true. It's not a binary in that instance. It is a binary when you say that, hey, immigrants are taking our jobs. They are taking our jobs. That is a yes or no, a binary. If they're taking our jobs, taking our welfare, destroying our culture, all of that requires a fine-tooth comb to look at it. And it doesn't take long to find the hotbed of culture destruction within America, the UK, the West. These people come in here and they don't like America, they don't like the West, so they want to destroy everything.
When my oldest son went to college, I made him do a budget before he picked a major. You should sit down and do a budget. How do you want to live?
That is true. I like how he says this. How do you want to live? Not when he says this, one thing I respect is he's not telling people, hey, you have to live a certain way. He's not saying don't pursue those degrees that are going to have you not be paid at the beginning. He's just saying, are you comfortable with making minimal money at the beginning and doing that and living very, very low rent to make sure that you can have your dream come true? And I respect that a lot.
How much is it going to cost? How much do you have to earn? And then pick your major accordingly. Because in that way, you have a skill set that is viable in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a FSU grad. We all know this. We had fun at the beginning. What? Stop it. One of the one of the reasons why I think vocational training, credentialing, hard skills has to come back in K-12 education in particular, but also at the university and college level, is because you could be an electrician making $110,000 a year today versus having a degree that's not economics, accounting, finance, engineering, or if you go to law school or medical school. Like, those are basically the 6. Outside of that 6, you're going to be competing against the entire labor pool and adults ahead of you who've already had to leave a career that didn't work out. But if you're an electrician, you're a plumber, you're an auto tech, even if you're driving a truck, a CDL licensed driver, CDL drivers make $85,000 coming right out of training school.
I think an issue that people are having, I don't know, because I would say maybe an issue people are having is that he didn't outright go against the H-1Bs. But people, all they do is read the headlines. You didn't listen to what he said. Yeah, sure, he didn't say, oh, give them a 100% tax if they use, because that's going to solve all of our problems. Just give the companies a 100% tax if they dare decide to have a non-American. Yeah, and they should have Americans working there, but you don't just spike up the prices. Because, yes, I'll admit, Donald Trump's tariffs most likely are the reason that shit got more expensive in certain areas, but shit was getting lower in other areas, and the prices continued to go down once he removed the tariffs. And that's how economics work. You apply pressure to get what you want, and you reduce pressure to also get what you want. I mean, it has to be appropriate. You know, people are taking advantage of you, you apply pressure. That's how it happens in life. They take advantage of you, apply pressure. Stop doing that. They stop doing it, you ease up. You're like, okay, all right, you've done what I want, now we're chilling. And let's not pretend like America has the ability, the capabilities, and the responsibility to do this kind of shit. Not being the world police, but if it's against American interests, if you're being anti-American, you're going against America, you're destroying our culture, invading us, yeah, fuck you. Get out of here, you know? And give us more money. You want to do business here, siphoning off of our backs, sending it back to your country so you can make some shitty secondhand fucking thing compared to what we do, you know? You want to make your fucking offhand Glocks, even though I know that's Austrian still. Yeah. Okay, make your offhand 1911s then, offhand trench guns, offhand M16s, or whatever it is that you want to do that's offhand, that's American made. All right, that's all it's about. So yeah, you're gonna pay us more money if you want to use our resources, because that's what you do. You use our resources, use our factories in here, and then you bring the stuff over there. That's what it's about. So if you want our shit, you pay us more if you're taking advantage of us. So, and we're in a position where we can afford to be taken advantage of. Maybe not now, because we have to turn around and go do this stuff. But for like decades, when the world treated us as the World Bank, and they just kept using us and going against us, you know, it is what it is. And I will say one thing that I absolutely do not like is taking money from any kind of investor. Taking money from investors that is probably the worst thing you can do. I don't know how I feel about donations. Because think about it this way. If I get a super chat on a stream, that's somebody who's watching my stream and they give me money because they love what I'm doing so much that they feel the need to say, hey, here's something, even if it's $1, 50 cents. All is appreciated. But no, seriously, if that's all they do is just give us that kind of money, then we are what's the word? We are beholden, we are beholden to what the viewer wants when they drop 50 bombs, 100 bombs, you know, give us a great amount of money, a very generous amount of money. When they do things like that, we are supposed to do what they want. And if what they want is what we're doing on stream at that current moment in time, then they want us to continue doing what we do and continue being authentic. When you get paid by these, you know, giant corporations, when you get paid by these countries like Saudi Arabia, like APAC, when you get paid by these things, then you're beholden to their ideologies, to what they want you to do. Because if you don't, oh, we'll just go ahead and take the money away. And they might even be generous and be like, oh, we're not even going to take all of it away, just 20%. But even if you continue to do that, who's to stop them from just taking it all away? And then all of the businesses and all of the processes that you had built up upon that Saudi money, that APAC money, it goes away if you don't do what they want you to do. And that's not authentic. That's not integral to the core of what it means to be a human. You sell yourself out for some bucks, man. That's probably one of the worst things that you can do in life. Selling out your values just so you can have some more money. Like, what the fuck is that, man? But right here, I have a man, David. It is Donald Trump meeting with the Saudi Arabian prince, I think. Saudi investment, Saudi Arabian prince. Gas turbine supporting U.S. needs. Well, but we're gonna. If it's on our soil, you do it on our terms. Is that fair enough? Okay. If it's on our soil, it's our terms. I don't give a fuck how much money you have. All right? This right here is another sly invasion of Islam to the West. And I don't know much about this guy, but I do know that Saudi Arabia is still Muslim. And they're still dressing like Muslims. And they're still doing all these things that are Muslim adjacent, Islam adjacent, whatever you want to call it. And all I know is I don't want that money within the government. I don't want any foreign money in the government. Okay? Because you're not going to serve American interests, American values. You're going to serve your own values. And the Americans here are going to serve the value that they have of money, which is not that much of a value, despite how valuable money is in the world. Despite how valuable it is, it's still fucked. And it's just insane. I don't like taking money, regardless of why it is. It's just that right there is a hard stop for me. When you take money from foreign investors, it is very much hard for me to agree with that. I can't agree with that, and I can't do that myself. I don't support taking money for something I don't believe in. It'd be different if Samaritan's Purse somehow came up with $1 million and they said, hey, we're going to come here and give you $1 million to spread the word of Jesus. That's what I'm already doing, and that's what I'm glad to do. But I'm not going to sit here and accept money from Saudi Arabia, APAC, any UK, any German, any Russian. No one. I serve America first. And then I serve the Udals. And then I serve Christ first. Then America, then the Udals. All right? And if I ever get the chance to run my own place one day, as delusional as that may be, I would serve the Udals first. Because whatever country you're in, whatever country you are the leader of, you should have their interest in your heart first. Doesn't matter if you're American, Vietnamese, Laotian, Cambodian, Bangladeshi. You could be Nepalese or Mongolian. I don't give a fuck. Your country should come first. But it is what it is. Another thing I don't agree with, I still don't demonize Trump. I would only demonize Trump if he had completely abandoned the right wing. And it doesn't seem like he's going to do that anytime soon. It's something, man. But then, this was absolutely something that blew my mind. Nicki Minaj. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect Nicki Minaj to come up and say this, but I got mad respect for her to say this. It's a 20-second clip.
To thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief. Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that, and I believe that. And it is insane that Nicki Minaj would be the one to say that. Now, granted, I don't know much about her. I don't follow popular culture that much. I've been picking up on it recently, but if you're talking about like history of people, yeah, I don't know that much. And Nicki Minaj, I don't remember her being too politically active. Maybe she was left. I don't know. Last thing I saw that was big about her was that she was in Call of Duty. Okay, that's how far back my history. So I don't know much, but it's dope to see somebody as prominent as her come up and say this against the slaughter of Christians in Nigeria. Nigeria, thank God. I was going to feel so horrible if I fucked that up. But yeah, yeah, it's just insane seeing these people, everybody finally standing up for Jesus, because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it needs to be.
على التربان رتل وهذه زينب تناديك ومجروحة من الذيل ما ظنتي تنسانا طول الدهر ويانا يا حجة الله يا إمامي وياك.
This is what they want to bring to America. And I get it. I get it. Some people might sit there and say, hey, some people might sit there and say, hey, why do we need to care about what other people do? Because they care about what we do. This is why this is such a problem for me. It's the same thing with politics. Just because you don't care about it doesn't mean that it doesn't care about you. You can sit there and say, oh, I don't care about Islam. I don't care about the spread of Islam. Okay, I just live the way I want to live. Well, when you're the only person in a completely majority Muslim country that believes in Christ, or that is not Muslim, fuck it. Forget I believe in Christ. Just if you're in a majority Muslim country and you are not a Muslim, you are going to be completely in hostile territory, under attack. They're not going to treat you the same. If they let you live, you're going to be a second-class citizen. But that's the white guilt. They would rather look at being a second-class citizen in Islam and say, that's perfect. I'd prefer that, compared to being in an equal society. Okay? They have such white guilt, such strong guilt for Western values, that they feel the need to have Islam take it over. And this is what they bring in. This is not an American parade. Can you imagine this shit in the 50s? Can you imagine this in the 60s? That would not happen in the 50s. That would not be here in the 50s. It shouldn't be here now. And I get it. People change. We progress as a society. But at the end of the day, no. There are certain things you have to gatekeep. I'm a gatekeeper of American exceptionalism. I'm stumbling over myself. I'm getting too passionate. I am a gatekeeper of American exceptionalism. And I truly believe that if you don't gatekeep that, and you say anybody can participate in American culture, then it's wrong. The people who cannot participate in American culture are people who consider themselves not American. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people who just don't, now I'm at a point now where I've become so extreme that I believe that you have to believe in Jesus Christ to be in this country or not. If you don't believe in Jesus, you should be exiled. That's how I believe about it. But even then, it should get to a point where if you want to participate in America and you want to be an American, okay, you have to want to be an American to be here. And I want to sit here and define what it means to be an American. What it means to be an American is you follow Jesus Christ and you live a life that would be pleasing to him. People forget it. People just think American is like, oh, you do whatever you want. No. Old school liberty, guided by Jesus Christ and his theology. Guided by Jesus Christ and his laws. The things that he wants for your life. That's true liberty. Not this bullshit where it's like, you want to sit there and you want to go do black tar heroin, you're good. We're not going to arrest you. Oh, Muslims, you want to come in here and you want to eradicate everything that we've ever known and change it into your country that got destroyed and desecrated, and you find that as happy living? Okay. Hope gets Charlie Kirked, a Muslim. The Christians that were protesting within Dearborn, Michigan, he was saying that he hopes that they get Charlie Kirked. He hopes that they die. He hopes that they die. That's what it is. He hopes that they get killed because they're anti-Islam. That's what you're importing whenever you import Islam. You're importing people who want to execute you and destroy you. And they'll sit there and lie and be like, oh no, we're nice people, we're good people, we're this and that. But they leave out the part where it is in the Quran to lie to non-believers for the advancement of Islam. It is 100% right there in the Holy Book. It tells you, hey, don't sit there and tell them the full truth of what it is they're getting into. That'd be like somebody sitting there saying, "Hey, you want to come here for this porn shoot?" Sure. They take you in there and it's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're not allowed to leave and you're going to be a sex slave for the rest of your life." That's the equivalent of Islam right there. Bringing you in under false pretense and then hitting you with the full force of what Islam truly is. If they ever tell you, if you ever go and read it yourself, because to them, it'd be like, "Oh no, just believe what I say. Believe what I say. Here's the Quran." And the craziest part is that the Muslims, the communists, they give the shit out for free, you know, because they want to spread it as much as possible. They give out Qurans and fucking communist handbooks for free. Antifa does this certainly. It's insane, man. Speaker Mike Johnson. The harm caused by the 43-day Democrat shutdown won't be forgotten. 1 million people missed paychecks, $10 billion in wages and benefits withheld, thousands of flight delays, and billions of dollars lost. All of this so that Democrats could appease their far-left base and gain nothing. Let me put it to you one further. He does it very light there, and I feel like he does a disservice to exactly what the left did. The Democrats, what they did. He a wild disservice right here, right? Because they didn't just shut it down to appease their far-left base. They shut it down because these illegal immigrants, these people who come in, abuse our system. These people have been born here and that abuse our system, that take all of these things for granted and destroy everything that it is we've ever known. These are the people that want to give these benefits to illegals, give these benefits to the people who want to destroy us. I'm trying to gather my thoughts, my fault. But they want to give benefits to these people who want to destroy us. They want to give benefits to these illegals that are going to eradicate Americanism, what it means to be American. They're going to change the flag. They're going to get rid of the Constitution. They're going to change all of these things into pro-Islam, and then they will eradicate any kind of dissent. And it will never happen unless a violent revolution. That is the only thing that stops Islam, is violent revolution. Because it's the same thing with a dictator, with a Nazi, you know? That's why it's so insidious when people call Trump and right-wingers Hitler, Nazis, you know? That's why it's so insidious, is because of the fact that how do you deal with it? Armed revolution. If you truly was out there killing people who were non-white simply because they were non-white, how do you deal with that? Armed revolution. Armed revolution. That's how you deal with that. And I completely forgot to turn my music on. I got so hype into it. I got very hype into it. Hey, but you gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. Politics is insane. And I think that's why I like it so much. But Speaker Mike Johnson, I appreciate you, but you really buried the lead. You know, because I feel like it matters why. That's what this era is going to be called. It's going to be called the why era. We need to know why. Everybody hides the why. Okay? Donald Trump hides the why when he calls in 600,000 Chinese H-1Bs. Why do we need that? Why do you say that we don't have talent? Why do you say that our kids are not our brightest? Dinesh D'Souza, why do you say the same thing? Why do you sit here and say professional whiteys on Twitter? Okay? Instead of actually attacking the argument, you just sit there and insult us because we actually care. For once in the for once in the history of America that I can remember, that I've seen, okay, white people are actually caring about their race. Because I think we have to understand that when it comes to like World War I, World War II, these grand European conflicts, that was white on white. It was more nationalistic than anything. And of course you had like the Anglos, and you had the Slavs, you had the Germanic people. And those are all different versions of white. But at the same time, right after World War II, and maybe even a little bit before then, I'm not sure, but certainly afterwards, all white people were lumped in together. Part of this anti-white racism. If you have light skin, this colorist ideology that they have within intersectionality. And if you don't know, the intersectionality is, you know, the transgenderism, LGBT stuff, racism, pro-Islam, pro-Palestine, all of these left-wing politics intertwine into one. That's why I am proposing a right-wing intersectionality. Not that we support what the left does, but the idea that everything intertwines into everything. I agree with that. Yes, everything intertwines into everything. Now, that doesn't mean you always have to talk about stuff and you always have to be angry and you always have to be vile and venomous and vitriolic. Of course not. We should all sit here and to handle these things with a gentle hand. But at the end of the day, Jesus runs through everything. So do politics, so does culture. Everything runs through everything in life, and we have to accept that. We have to acknowledge that, because I think that's a big part of the issue with the right. We're doing things good. We have the right morals. But we don't... That intersectionality, it gives people a purpose. And I know it sounds fucked up, but hear me out. Whenever everything in life becomes intertwined into one single thread, and you follow that thread, and you constantly have to check every part of it and make sure that it aligns with your values, with your ideas, and you check every single piece of that, right? What then happens is you feel like you're doing something. Even if it's something as simple as, hey, I believe that white people should be eradicated and Muslims should take over this country and that the gay people should trans our kids. Even if you believe that, you still have to go through the mental faculty of checking those boxes. And then, when you talk to people, they check the boxes as well, or they don't, and then you know to hate them or love them. I just proposed something that is similar, but we still have Christian values. So yeah, anything that happens over here in California matters over here in New York. Things that happen in Gaza, we need to sit here and take account for. I'm not saying we need to send money or troops. Of course not. I am anti-sending anything anywhere if it is against American values, right? Unless they were going to destroy the Holy Land of Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Nazareth. Those are the only places that I want to have protected from the Muslim extremists, because the holy architecture is there. Not only the architecture, the artifacts, the things that are there, they will be destroyed by the Muslims if they get hold of it. They will be entirely desecrated and destroyed. So I don't know. It's very interesting to think that some people want to support it, some people don't, and we all have our different opinions. That's what makes it beautiful for us to be people. We all have our differences of opinion, and to sit here and pretend like we have to be all or nothing is pure tribalism, and it sucks. And yes, I believe in Team Jerseys at this specific moment in time after they killed Charlie Kirk. I do not want anything to do with the left because of how violent their party has become, how violent their wing of politics has become. Not even just a party, the entire wing of politics, the left, have become so violent that they're killing people in the streets, and they have been for at least a few years. They did at least during the 2020 riots, okay? So my whole issue is that... let me figure out how to say this. Let me figure out how to say this. How can you have common ground with people who want to erase you, with people who pray for your destruction, who pray for your downfall? These people, the only thing that they want to do is to see everything that you stand for crumble beneath their feet. And if you don't kiss their feet, they will kill you. And they will take your women and turn them into spoils of war. Again, another thing that is permitted in the Quran. You take the women who are non-believers of the people you conquer and turn them into spoils of war, aka sex slaves. So yeah, these things are why we cannot have common ground. Because that's Islam. And then you take the left, what the left does, everything that we stand for, they go against. They're anti-American, anti-nuclear family, anti-God. Everything that the right stands for, the left is vehemently opposed to. How do you have common ground with that? And we say the same things. We will say the exact same things. How do you have common ground with that? Oh no, Trump's deporting people. Oh, Trump's deporting people. Oh, Trump's deporting people. Two very different meanings behind the words. That's why context matters. That's why it matters. It matters immensely. You don't have context, you don't have meaning. You need to know what the surrounding area is before any of that will ever happen, right? You just need to know what the surrounding area is before you can do anything. Because if you don't know why something led up to something, how can you make an informed decision? How can you make an informed decision on something like France, the UK, Russia, Nazism, Islam? How can you make informed decisions if you don't know the context, what they do, who they've done to people? I'm sorry, what they do, what they've done to people, who they target. Because I mean, it's one thing if a group of people is a hardcore authoritarian, but they also target violent crime and protect the innocent. That's something I'm okay with. But then it's an entirely different thing to have that same authoritarian regime lock innocent people up because people say that they don't like it. That's something I'm fully against. And it is what it is. I'm going to go take a break, and we will be back in about 10, 15 minutes. Welcome back, welcome back. I appreciate y'all hanging out. I'm gonna start doing this where, towards about the second half or so, or maybe even at the beginning, I don't know. I'll open up a space, and then anybody who wants to come and talk can talk while I'm saying what I say. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start with this right here. This, I read the headline, and I wanted to look at this on stream because I don't. I'm not confused, but I'm very concerned. Very concerned with the headline. So let's go ahead and listen to this.
During one of the protests, rural organizers unfurled a banner that said "Rural Tennessee against fascist GOP," right? And it was like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because
I'm getting goosebumps.
You know, in a state like Tennessee, we are living and breathing authoritarianism, right?
We're living, breathing authoritarianism, right? I'm sorry. Look. It's very I don't know. I don't know. I feel it gets draining to hear them constantly talk about fascism and stuff, you know? It gets very draining to hear about that because it's not true. Excuse me. And even if it was authoritarianism, okay, authoritarianism isn't inherently bad. It's only bad when it's used against the innocent. So I don't get it. Do not get it at all, man. I mean, and honestly, if it was true authoritarianism, everybody knows that you wouldn't be able to talk. Like, I feel like that's where we're at the point now. We're literally living in two different realities. Everybody knows that authoritarianism you can't speak about. You can't talk about. You can't talk against. And yet that authoritarianism is what they say we are, what they say Trump is. And I'm just like, sir, excuse me? Are you for real? Are you for real? Like, what is this? But yes, they are for real. They are for real because they see, what do you call it? They see the right, obviously, as Nazis and fascist. They call us that. And that's what the people who are, it's easy to manipulate them into believing. That's what those people believe. And that's the part that's the most insidious to me and that bothers me the most, is the fact that so many people are out there who are willing to overthrow what America stands for, what America is, all because white bitches like this. Okay, no, I'm joking. But just political actors who spread this kind of evil and misinformation. These are the people that are the reason why we can't have nice things. I'm just being very, very simple about it. These people we cannot have nice things because of people like this. Man, woman, white, black, it doesn't matter. When you institute and you want to bring on the destruction of everything that you've ever come to know and love because you are either brainwashed yourself or you are a political actor who wants to brainwash other people and you know it's evil and you do it anyway. Those are the two most insidious things on the left, right? And it's just absolutely insane to me that people would just sit there and support it and just say, oh, you know, unfurled a banner that says against fascism. Guys, they are using such strong language. And what sucks is we're going to get to a point now where these words mean nothing. That's why I'm actually kind of in support of authoritarianism. Is because the more they said this, the more I've studied it. And I'm like, dude, you do understand that most of these things are just neutral, right? The way I see it, I see authoritarianism as just violence instituted, you know? Authoritarianism is just institutionalized violence. And it can be used for good or bad, just like regular violence. I can use violence to I can use violence to rape a woman, or I can use violence to stop a woman from being raped. I can use violence to take over a country, or I can use violence to stop the people within my own country from attacking the other people, all right? And attacking the own citizens who just want to sit there and have a difference of opinion. You know? So I just... If anybody gets radicalized, it is these people radicalizing us, okay? That's what it is. It's not about some silly fucking, oh, they were already radical to begin. No, me, I was lefty, all right? I was on the left. I was 100% willing to hear the left out. And as a matter of fact, even though I grew up in the church and then I went to the left, I still probably would have considered myself a leftist if they weren't so batshit insane. Because at the trajectory in my life that I was going at that time, I was going to, end up straight shotting towards the left and becoming a super big lefty. But then they just got so fucking... It was during 2020 that my radicalization began, because obviously you have the fucking 2020 summer riots, you had the election season, you had the season before that where it was 2016, and everything from 2016 to 2020 I followed. And then 2020 is whenever I got really radical. And they did that. And then they want to call me the extremist. They want to call me the problem. Because of the fact that I've been radicalized by them. They did this to me. They did this to me, bro. The reason that the Udals exist in the first place, this random made-up ideology I'm trying to push, the entire reason it exists is because of the left. So if we ever get to a point where I'm able to make a genuine change in this country for the better in the name of Jesus, then it'll come down to the left created the greatest right-wing expansion we've ever seen. But that's also me having somewhat delusions of grandeur, let's be honest, okay? I can be quite delusional when it comes to my place in the world. At the end of the day, I might just have to be an HVAC guy, because my dad runs HVAC and I absolutely love it, and I'm down for that, and I'm down to learn it. It's really cool. He had me on a couple jobs. It was wonderful. And if God wants me to be that, I will be that. But if God wants me to be the Kaiser of the Udals, I will be that too. And that's what I believe he wants me to be right now. Because of these batshit insane people. That's why I'm here. So thank you, Afton. You have created a right-wing wave, the likes of which you will never, ever get rid of. Even if it's not me, it was Charlie. And then after Charlie, it is so many other people willing to step up and take that mantle. And I don't mean mantle as in, like, Charlie's spot. I mean mantle as in, like, we are not going to let you take over this country, institute your Islamo-communism, which will eventually break it down into Islam rule, because Islam has no, and I mean no, room for dissenters or for anybody else. And the second they sit there and start saying that these pink-haired freaks have to wear burqas and cover themselves up, they're going to realize that they don't want Islam in their fucking country. Okay? They've been lied to. And Islam does the lying, and the left does the lying. They have the same playbook. They have the same playbook. You lie to the people that you claim to represent so that you can get your ideology through. See, I'm the opposite, okay? I'm the opposite. I'm so transparent and so authentic when it comes to what I believe in that the only way I want power is if you know 100% my beliefs, my ideology, you know, what it is that I stand for, what I'm going to do, and what I'm going to institute. That's the only way I would ever want power. And even then, it is hard to sit there and just say that I want power. You know what I'm saying? Because power doesn't corrupt. It shows who you are, and I'm afraid to have that. And then it's revealed that I'm a shitty person. No, I'm not a shitty person. That was a shitty joke. That was a shitty joke. The setup was way better in my head. But no, everybody's flawed at the end of the day. And the righteous people are the people who turn to Jesus more, not the people who are better, not the people who, you know, they consider themselves good, even. Because, I mean, I don't think that anybody who calls themselves good is inherently a bad person, but also you have to measure what that standard of good is. Is that standard of good Jesus Christ? Or is that standard of good how much you've donated? Because one of those matters a lot fucking more than the other. And quite frankly, I don't care if you've donated $7 trillion. Are you in line with Jesus Christ? No. Then I don't care. That is the most important thing. And yet people like Afton here. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about people calling our political opponents fascism because we just fascists just because we disagree with them. Just because we disagree with them. And then you got one more piece right here. In line for confession tonight. Only young men in line with me. Never seen this before. And there's a string here I wanted to follow. Let me go back this way. Michael Knowles says, I've noticed it increasingly. 80 to 100% men. Yeah, a lot more young men. They just want a genuine religious faith. Because me, the reason I had to leave the last church I went to before I moved out of that city was because they were too fucking modernized. They were too, not like liberal rainbow flags, nothing like that. But they just could not help themselves by having a rock concert at the beginning and end of every sermon. And I'm good. You know what I want? I want Gregorian chants, okay? Let me come into the church and just feel the or that kind of shit, you know? I don't know what any chants are, but, you know, just give me that shit, man. That shit feels authentic. That's why I like Demon Hunter as a band, is because not only is it metal music, but it's metal gospel music. You look at the lyrics, and you apply it to a Christian framework, they fit perfectly because it is metal gospel music. That's why it's my favorite music. That's why I start and end every stream with it. Of course, I'll add on other things, you know? But at the end of the day, this is just what people want. This is what young men want. They want a genuine connection because everything else that they've come to, everybody else they've trusted have failed them. The left has failed them. The right has failed them. The center has failed them. Everybody has failed these young men in life. The only person who hasn't is Jesus Christ. That's why he's growing in popularity. That's why people prefer him. And that's why Islam is such a big threat, is because if you do not bring them towards Jesus and say, hey, this merciful, loving God wants to take you and all of your sinful ways, give you the gift of mercy, the gift of being able to repent of your sins. If you don't bring them to Jesus for that, they're going to go to Muhammad that says, fuck 9-year-old girls and take over countries and have no mercy and lie to people and treat women as if they are less than. You really want that in America? As much as I might dislike the modern woman, at the end of the day, she's not less than, okay? At the end of the day, as much as I might dislike what the modern woman does, because no, I still like women. I still want a wife. I still love and appreciate women. But just when you have all these boss babes and these sluts and these chicks who are out here doing the nastiest, dirtiest shit ever and being masculine, they don't even have to be a slut. They don't even have to be a political actor or whatever. If they are just a masculine-ass woman, and I don't mean muscular. No. Muscular, that can be attractive. Personality. If you have a masculine-ass woman, it is very hard for her to find somebody. Just like you have a feminine man who wants to be a stay-at-home dad. Good luck finding a wife. Okay? Like, we have roles for a reason, and we have things that we have to slot into for a reason. And it's only been recently that this has been challenged. Because America has been so privileged after World War II that we can afford to have this stuff be challenged and still stand as a country for decades on end. But don't get it twisted, man. This is what they want. They don't want men to go to Jesus because they know Jesus is the truth. Why would they fight against it so hard if they didn't know it? Because they feel that conviction in their heart. I guarantee you, they feel that conviction in their heart saying you're going down the wrong path. When they get nerves and they start getting shaky, you know, and they ignore it and they keep doing what they're doing. I've been guilty of that many times. And I pray to God for repentance every single day. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is Jesus. You can have these other false gods. You can say in the name of Allah, I strike you down. Ain't gonna do shit. Ain't gonna do shit. Because Allah is a false god. He's a false prophet. The only one true Messiah. The one true Savior, Lord, God, Creator is Jesus Christ. And I don't care what anybody else has to say about that. You can call me an extremist. You can call me whatever it is that you want. But at the end of the day, I would prefer the religion that says, hey, maybe maybe we should give people who commit evil a second chance after justice has been enacted. I would rather go for that than go towards Islam that says, hey, don't give a fuck about your enemy, okay? As a matter of fact, you need to disgrace and desecrate them as much as possible by taking their women as trophies, by, decapitating them, by throwing the gays off of roofs. These people that are not in line with Islam. And even the people that are in line with Islam, they preach the subjugation of their own people. If you're a woman, if you're a child, if you're a little girl, you have no say whatsoever, and nobody gives a fuck about you. The only thing that they care about is what they can get from you. And I understand, there are good Muslims, right? There are good Muslims, but you have to understand is the value system that I am critiquing here. It's not just, hey, good Muslims, good Christians, bad Christians, because that exists everywhere. But if you're going to talk about the value system, what they hold in their holy text, the Quran, because I'm not going to go Quran and fucking bullshit. No, Quran. Fucking black guy's name. What fucks up with that, bro? But seriously though, look in the holy text and you tell me which value system you'd want to live under. One that looks at your evil and your sins and says, hey, you got to have justice for this. You have to be punished. But we'll give you another chance if you get through this punishment. Versus one that just says, oh, you disagree with me slightly? You don't agree with my political beliefs, my religious beliefs, and you think that, even taking my extremism out of it, even taking me saying that I despise Islam with a passion, just what Islam is. You don't agree that Muhammad is a prophet and that Allah is God? You need to be killed, enslaved, subjugated, or manipulated into being into our group. There is no honesty. There is no authenticity. An individual... Fucking... My mic is so loud. God bless it. Individual Muslims. Individual Muslims. They can be good. They can donate money. They can do all these things. Because in the Quran, yes, there are good things. One of the things that Muhammad said is give alms to the poor. But Muhammad was also a warlord pedophile. So I don't... At the end of the day, it is the value system I'm critiquing. Do you love your enemy? No? I don't want to be a part of it. Do you think that kids should not be sold off to be child sex slave wives to older men for stacks of fucking cash? No. And then you're not, I don't want to be part of what Islam does, which it has young girls who are even below 10. They have to be sold off to be a slave wife for a dude. All because he wants to fuck a kid. There's footage of this. I'm sorry. This is something I have to show. You may sit here and say that I am being blasphemous, that I am doing whatever it is. Yeah, we'll go back to that. Yeah, we'll go back. But you may say that I'm doing X, Y, Z, whatever it is. I don't care. We need to go back. We need to go back. Come on now. I know it's going to take a second, but I have to show this because this is genuinely upsetting when I saw it. This actually kind of hurt my heart to see. And I'm not saying that I want to spread that negativity, but we need to see what is happening. All right, we need to see what's happening. And if I don't sit here and show you guys are just going to sit there and be like, oh, what? Right here, right here, right here. A 9-year-old girl cries as she is sold by her family and forced into a marriage with a 60-year-old man. This is Sharia law. You want to import Islam? This is what you're importing. Let me turn off the music. We need to be serious. And one thing I will say though, that chick does not look 9. Oh wait, no. Wait a minute. I think that's the mother signing the thing. Oh no, wait, no, a 9-year-old. Okay, so that right there might be misleading. That doesn't look like a 9-year-old. That looks like bigger than any 9-year-old I've ever seen. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that it doesn't happen and that this is just staged or that this is false or that simply getting the age wrong automatically makes every other thing said about Islam wrong, you're fucking disingenuous, okay? Whoever this is, whatever situation is going on, someone is being sold and they don't want it. And they don't want it. See, they say that is a 9-year-old, so I assume that that chick's a 9-year-old. But she's sitting down. It's a weird angle. I can't exactly tell, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, this shit goes on. This shit happens. And anybody sitting here saying that it doesn't, you're being disingenuous and you're feeding into evil. It's that simple. You're feeding into evil. That's what it is, you know? And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and be the kind of guy to say that silence is violence and if you don't say anything, you know, any of that jazz. But at the end of the day, this is what it is now. This is what it applies to now. If you are not against Islam, you are helping bring it into the modern world. You've been helping bring it into the modern world. So it's gotten to a point now where I don't want that in my country. I don't want that anywhere. Because even if she wasn't a 9-year-old girl, that is still somebody being sold to an old man because he wants to get his fucking rocks off instead of actually putting in the work and being a decent person. No, he just sat there, got a bunch of fucking money, okay? Even if he worked for it, got a bunch of fucking money and bought a wife. That's not fucking love. You want to tell me what love is? Love is you meet somebody and now she decides that she cannot live without you. That's love. Not, hey, let me give you hundreds of thousands of dollars to take your 9-year-old daughter so that we can do whatever. And then the family fucking takes the money. The family takes the money. That's it. And it's so insidious. It's so sinister that people want this in America. So, okay, all right. I have a litmus test. For anybody who wants Islam to be in America, my question is, would you be willing to sell your 9-year-old daughter to be somebody's wife? A 60-year-old man willing to be his wife? Are you willing to sell your 9-year-old daughter for her to be a 60-year-old man's wife? If your answer to that is yes, get the fuck out. Get out of America. And as a matter of fact, you're lucky that we're sitting here only exiling you. Why would we sit there and support that kind of debased behavior? What the fuck? But at the same time, it doesn't surprise me that the left completely ignores this and is in support of this. My only question is, what exactly would they benefit from having this stuff in America? And the truth is, the destruction of Western Christianity, of white men in America. That's what this is. The destruction of all of that. And that's what Islam is for, too. They're for the destruction of Christianity, of Islam. Their entire book is literally based off of the fact that Jesus is not God. If you want to talk about reactionaries, okay, and counter movements, Islam, the only reason they exist is because somebody looked at Christianity and said, nah, that's stupid. Let's do something else. And then we'll take bits and pieces here because it's still good, but we'll say that the Bible didn't do that, and we'll lie and we'll deceive people. No. That's what they want. They want you to lie and deceive people so that you can have people into your movement who would never be there in the first place. So you can have as many people as possible. So you can say, hey, look how fast growing Islam is. Well, you want to know something? I've seen many posts past week or so. People sitting here saying, oh, look at how fast Islam is growing. But look at how fast Christianity is growing. It's not just people are abandoning their faith. It's people are picking a side. People are picking truth versus evil, good versus falsehoods. Switch those around. You get what I'm saying. They are choosing to abandon this heinous shit that is Islam. Or they're choosing to support it because they think that it's going to be best and they've been manipulated into it. At the end of the day, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what race you are. You support Islam, get the fuck out. If you support Islam, get the fuck out. I have no problem saying that. And quite frankly, the only thing that I want is to live in a world where little girls aren't fucking sold off as wives to 60-year-old men, and people aren't being destroyed inherently in their soul, in their mind, or just by being thrown off a rooftop because they're gay. There's a post the official account of Iran made. Fucking imagine that. They sat there and said, hey, in Iran, we execute pedophiles. We don't put them into office. Obviously referencing the Trump Epstein files, right? No. I would argue you don't execute pedophiles. As a matter of fact, I'd be willing to argue that the majority of people in your cabinet, or whatever system that you have, the people that are representing the people, the political actors, the political leaders, I'd be willing to guarantee at least half, if not more, of those people are pedophiles. Because Sharia law says that you can buy a 9-year-old as a wife. All of a sudden it makes it okay. It's not pedophilia. In a lot of these countries, the age of majority is like fucking 12, 13. Okay? And you could be like, oh, no, it's not. It's 15, 16 or some shit. Like, it makes it any better. But I will argue, yeah, of course, those few years do make a difference. But to me, anything under 18, fuck off. I don't care. The age of majority is 18, end of story. You want to do something before that? You can either spend the rest of your life in jail, you can go to one of these countries that accept it, or the more humane option, in my opinion, fucking wood chipper. Okay? But then again, I don't know. To me, a wood chipper is too slow. I would prefer to slather him up with honey and just have people come over and animals. I'm not sure what animal would tear his skin off by nibbling on it. That kind of jazz. But at the end of the day, that's what we need. Tie him up to a tree or something, slather him in honey, and leave him to the elements. You know, it'd be far longer death. Might not be as painful as a wood chipper. But at the end of the day, wood chipper is very nice and efficient. At least for those motherfuckers. Because I believe in forgiveness, right? But forgiveness has to come with justice. And I believe that it's hard to say. Because when you look at it statistically, anybody who's been a pedophile, if they can get away with it, they will do it. If they like reoffend, right? And they get out of it and they go, even if they go through the things that, what do you call it? Like, I guess you could say recovery, but it's not a drug addiction. It's a pedophilic problem. So I wouldn't call it recovery, but that's just lack of a better term right now. When they go through that, if they can reoffend and get away with it, 100% they will. I just simultaneously am also in the camp of I have such a strong belief in Jesus Christ that I believe that even a pedophile could be converted and do what's good. That doesn't mean we have to trust them. That doesn't mean we have to sit there and not administer justice. And as a matter of fact, I think 9 times out of 10, justice is a wood chipper. But it's just, I also believe, because I've done horrible things to people in the past. Not pedophile. I've not done that shit. Okay, I've not done horrible shit like that. But I've hurt people in very demonic ways for my entertainment. And it haunts me to this day. And the only reason I changed was because of Jesus. And if I didn't change, I wouldn't be the man you see today. I'd be horrible. I might even be a Muslim. Who knows? I might even be a Muslim. Who knows? But I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing I'm advocating for, follow Jesus. Follow the truth. That's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream short today. I don't have much to say. I just wanted to do an addendum on yesterday's stream. If you want more content, just go check out my stream yesterday. It was for Dearborn, Michigan protest. 7 hours, and then we played a little Resident Evil 2 at the end. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to play some more. I might play some more games. I'm not sure, but we'll just see what happens. I appreciate y'all being here. And I don't know. I'm just trying to find something to say. I don't know, man. See ya.
static of a shadow in your flame.